Welcome to Education Express, my dear friends. After completing perfect competition, which we concluded that it is an unrealistic concept, we move on to another concept, which is monopoly. The word itself is eminent in explaining what exactly would be the meaning of the term mono and poly. The word has been derived by mono means single and poly means seller. So the structure of monopoly would mean there exists a single seller in the market. A market situation which is completely dominated by the single seller. That means as against perfect competition where there were large number of buyers and large number of sellers, monopoly would be ruled, would be influenced, would be dominated by one single seller in the market having complete control over the supply of his product. One must understand that monopoly in itself is totally unrealistic concept. Monopoly can emerge only in a regulated market. For example, in India, railways are the monopoly of the government of India. Now, there is no competition that the railway has to face. No other private individual, no other competitor is ever in a position to compete with Indian Railway, as we have only one single seller dominating the entire market. Yes, my dear friends, monopoly is a market situation where we have only one single seller having complete control over the entire market. So what will happen with respect to the supply of the product? So the supply will be totally dominated and controlled by that one single seller. So what about the price? Oh yes, he is a price maker and not the price taker. He will genuinely set high price for his product, knowing the fact that he is not going to compete or he is not going to face any competition with any other individual in the market. There is no differentiation between the firm and the industry. Remember friends, monopoly एक single seller है. He is not going to face any competition with anyone. So he knows that if a person needs his product, he is the only one who can supply that product and no one else can supply the product. So he would exploit the customers and charge them higher prices for his product, enjoying abnormal amount of profits. But one thing you must understand, my dear friends, monopolist cannot decide both price and an output. He can control the price, but he cannot control the demand. Ultimately, it is the people who will decide whether they can afford the product or they cannot afford the product. Monopoly can set the price but cannot set the demand. Demand would be determined by the people depending upon their willingness to buy the product at that prevailing price. So when we discuss monopoly, there are lots of features which I have already spoken to you. That monopoly, the word monopoly has been derived from the word mono means single and poly means seller. It means there is a single seller in the market who is having or exercising entire control over the supply of product. Monopoly or monopolist is a price maker and not the price taker. He will decide the price of his product. Not only that, he may differentiate between the different customers for selling the same product. That means he can charge different price to different people openly. This is what is called as a price discrimination. Let us take up one small single example. As you know, as far as Mumbai is concerned, BEST is a sole supplier of electricity. Now when BEST is supplying electricity to the resident, the charges are different and lower per unit electricity consumed are lower charges as against the same electricity in case if it is consumed by the offices for the commercial purpose, the charges would be different. Imagine if BEST is openly discriminating for the use of the same electricity between the two different consumers, that is a resident or a commercial organization. So we can come to know from that a monopolist can differentiate between the customers for the purpose of selling the same product. Monopolist is a price maker and not the price taker. Monopolist does not face any competition from anyone. So in this market structure, there is no entry to any new individual seller or a group of sellers. There is no entry. There is a complete barrier to anyone entering into the market. This may be because the market is regulated, maybe because the person who would like to enter the market needs a license and there is no further license being issued by the authority. Could be any other reason, whatsoever the reason may be, but one thing is certain and sure, that there is no entry or there is an entry barrier to monopoly in this market structure or market situation. Besides that, my dear friends, monopoly is socially not advisable. It is an antisocial element for a simple reason that it exploits the income of the consumer. It exploits the consumer by charging them extra price, by charging them higher price. So to sum up, my dear friends, one thing must be certain. Monopoly is a situation where, or it's a situation in the market where there is a single seller in the market. He will not have any close substitute for his product. That means whatever product he is selling, that product will not have any close substitute. For example, if you have a toothpaste, Pepsodent, the close substitute would be Colgate. The next substitute would be maybe Promise. The next substitute could be Babool. The next substitute could be Vicova Jadanti. So there are so many close substitutes, but in case of monopoly like railway is not going to have any close substitute. So one single seller having no close substitute, he is a price maker. Why price maker? So price maker for a simple reason that he will decide the price for his own product. Not only that, there is no free entry to anyone in this market. He enjoys complete control over the market. What an amazing situation. Let me share with you a few important facts. If you see a company like Nestle, I'm sure you must have heard about the company like Nestle. They were the one who invented Maggi noodles. Although they still controlled 90% of the noodle market. 90% of the noodle market. I would not say it's an example of a monopoly, but something which you can say are very close to monopoly. Not only that, if you talk about infant food, that means food which is meant for babies, all small babies, infant babies, the food meant for them, 96% of the baby food is completely controlled or having a monopoly of a company called Nestle. They are the one who are the only supplier of this food. Because the government is not issuing any more license to any vendor who is selling the baby food. The license has been obtained by very few companies, and Nestle is one of them. It's a leading company world over, and at least as far as India is concerned, they enjoy 96% of the market share in this. Yet it is not a monopoly. Close to monopoly, but not monopoly. As I told you, monopoly in reality does not exist unless and until it is regulated by the government. It exists in Indian Railway, otherwise finding a monopoly would be a very difficult situation. As I told you, monopoly single seller, no close substitute, he is a price maker, He will decide the price, he will exploit the people, he may discriminate the price. Price discrimination is possible in monopoly. He knows his customer, he knows that customer cannot live without his product. But one thing must be remembered forever, and that is, sir, he cannot decide the demand. The demand will be decided by the people, whether they can afford that particular product or they cannot afford. He can decide the price, he can decide the product, but he cannot decide the demand for the product. He can control the supply side, but he cannot control the demand side. Not only that, there is no free entry. That means no one can enter and disturb his product. One more thing you must understand. The cost for the monopolist would be quite low, because he knows that those workers who are working with him, they may not get job elsewhere, because he is the only sole producer of that goods. So he is the one who will dominate them. Not only that, he even knows that he is going to enjoy abnormal profit, because the product that he is making, he is a sole supplier. No one else can supply the same product. So even if he is going to charge higher price for the same product, yet he knows that people will come and buy the product, because in case if people needs it, no one else can actually provide that product other than him. So my dear friends, monopoly business is extremely good from business point of view, from businessman point of view, as he can enjoy abnormal profit, as he can have a complete control over the supply, as he is a price maker. He does not face any competition, so there is no need for him to advertise his product. There is no need for him to spend any selling cost, because he does not face any competition. Imagine if I don't face any competition, if I can rule the market, I am only the seller in the market, what people will do? They have no option but to come to me. They have no option but to pay premium to me. They have no option but to buy from me. And what about me? I will be in a dominating position. I will enjoy healthy margins. I will enjoy healthy profit, abnormal profit, no competition, no selling cost, dominate in the entire market. Such situations are very rare. And of course, yes, in case if you try to be a monopolist for your own product, there is no doubt that you are going to gain huge amount of profit for yourself. Having said that, what would be the nature of demand curve for the monopoly? That means, in short, what will be the impact if you will increase the price of his product? As I told you, a monopolist can decide supply. A monopolist can decide price, but he will not be able to control the demand. So what will happen? Even if the price goes up a bit, people will yet likely going to buy the product. And if the price goes down, it's not going to have that big impact, for a simple reason that he is enjoying monopoly in the market, and the demand curve will not be controlled by him. But generally, as observed, a monopolist will always have a downward sloping demand curve, which will be less elastic. Assuming that this is the demand curve of a monopolist, if OP is the price and OQ is the quantity demanded, so here we have demand, and on y-axis we have price. So when the price is OP, the quantity demanded is OQ. If I increase the price from OP to OP1, there will be slight fall in the demand. There will be slight fall in the demand. You can see there is such a big difference in the price. The price has shot up from OP to OP1. That means this is the rise in the price, this big. Whereas demand has fallen by a very small margin, indicating that a monopolist can sell more by reducing the price. If you reduce the price, assume the price is 10 rupee, 9 rupee, 8 rupee, 7 rupee. What about the demand? So when the price is 10, quantity demanded was 100. When the price became 9, quantity demanded became 95. When the price became not 95, sorry, 105, because if price falls, demand will rise. When the price fell to 8, the quantity demanded was 110. When the price fell further to 7, the quantity demanded became 112. What exactly it indicates? It indicates a monopolist can sell more by reducing the price. A monopolist can sell more by reducing the price. But he will not be in a position to control the demand. The demand will be decided by the people. In case if they can afford, they will buy more. If they cannot afford, I am sure they will give up the product and they are not going to buy. So monopolist must surely have a complete control with respect to the supply. At the same time, he is also going to measure how strong or what is the willingness or how much a customer can pay maximum out of his income for his product. So he will be willing to study that, to exploit that, to get more profit margin. The demand curve will be sloping downward. It will have a less elastic demand, in the sense even if the price goes up by a great amount, the fall in the demand is going to be very small, because at the end people know that they cannot live without railways. At the end people know that they cannot live without food being given to babies, the infant food which is meant for babies. So there are various such examples. I'll give you another example, very latest one. Assume that people are nowadays suffering from COVID-19. We all are worried, it's such a big pandemic. No one knows what's going to happen in the future. Assume that one company called, let us say, Cipla in India has actually innovated a vaccine which can help you cure your COVID-19. Now this is the only company in the world, let us say hypothetically, this is the only company in the world who has invented this vaccine which can help you have complete control over COVID-19. It can help you cure your problem of COVID-19. What will happen? So people are willing to pay any price. They don't mind paying any price to get that vaccine so that they can protect themselves from this life-taking disease. Absolutely right. But imagine about a poor guy who has a monthly salary of 15 to 20,000 rupees, who is suffering from COVID, and if this vaccine is available for 10 lakh rupees, can he afford to buy that vaccine for 10 lakh rupees? The answer is no. A monopolist like Cipla, suppose, keep the price of the vaccine at 5 lakh rupees. How many people can afford them? Though people may be willing to buy, but affordability is not there. So a monopolist can decide price, but he cannot decide who all are going to buy. One thing is also certain, if the price of the same vaccine has been kept at 50,000 rupees, you know, if I reduce the price, then the demand for vaccine will go up. If I further reduce the price, demand for vaccine will further go up. It all depends upon the affordability, need and urgency of the customer. And that cannot be measured by the monopolist. It will depend upon the income of the customer and their willingness to pay the price which they feel whether it is affordable or not. So my dear friends, when it comes to features of monopoly, single seller in the market, mono means single, seller means poly. So single seller who will control the entire market, does not have any close substitutes. If Cipla has made the vaccine, no one else has that vaccine. Even close to that vaccine is not possible. So no substitute, not available. Either live with that or do not live with that. You don't have any other option. Restriction on the entry, that means no other firm would be allowed to sell that vaccine except Cipla. Because no one has invented. It is Cipla who has invented. So Cipla is the only single seller in the market. So Cipla is the only company that will be allowed and no one else. He is a price maker, of course, he will decide the price, at what price he has to sell the vaccine, and price discrimination quite possible. In case if they feel that there are few poor people who cannot afford, so he can supply few medicines or few vaccines, few doses of vaccines to those people, even though they cannot afford, but they are very important for the society or they are very important people. and saving their life would be a very, very important for the whole country. So price discrimination is possible. If you buy in bulk, price discrimination is possible. If you are a commercial organization or you are an individual consumer, price discrimination is possible. So price discrimination will be there as a part of monopoly. Monopoly will always face downward sloping demand curve, indicating that in case if the price is reduced, quantity demanded would surely go up, and the demand curve would surely be less elastic, indicating that even if the price goes up, the fall in the demand would be slight, very less, and in case if the price goes down, then the rise in demand is also going to be less. I hope with this certainly you all have understood what exactly do you mean by the term monopoly. At the end, let me conclude with that. Monopoly is an unrealistic concept. Generally, monopoly does not exist for a long time. In India, we also have MRTP Act. That means Monopolistic Restrictive Trade Practice. The government does not encourage any kind of monopoly in an economy, because we all know that monopoly is not socially desirable, for a simple reason that the seller would try to exploit the customers, and we don't want such exploitation of the customers by the seller. It is for that reason monopoly, at least in our country, is not socially allowed, desirable, and we have a legal act also to bind such monopoly. Not only that, a real monopoly in the world is difficult to exist without government regulating the market. Only then it is possible, as in case of India, the entire railway is controlled by the central government and the state government, and henceforth, my dear friends, they enjoy the monopoly. Sir, perfect competition, as we discussed, is not a realistic concept, as you said so. Monopoly is also not a realistic concept. Then what exactly exists? So it was actually Professor Chamberlain who coined the term monopolistic competition. Monopolistic competition, which is a blending of monopoly and perfect competition. What he said, that perfect competition is not possible. It is not a realistic concept. Monopoly, again, it is not a realistic concept that a single seller can rule the market. Slowly and gradually other people will also join the market. Having complete control over the supply, being a price taker, price discrimination, all these things is virtually impossible. Cannot happen without government regulating the market. So what in reality exists is the blending of monopoly and perfect competition. Perfect competition is not possible. That means you cannot have a competition if there is a monopoly. And if there is a monopoly, there cannot be a competition. So what he coined is a blending of the two. That means a blending of perfect competition and monopoly. Later on, it was Mrs. Robinson who even went on further saying that it is not monopolistic competition, but she coined the term as imperfect competition. Imperfect competition, which was wider than monopolistic competition also. First, let us understand what exactly is monopolistic competition. So it is a concept which is coined by Professor Chamberlain. Professor Chamberlain said, look my dear friends, monopolistic competition is a blend, a mixture of perfect competition and monopoly. So it will have few features of perfect competition, few features of monopoly. So what were the features of monopolistic competition? One thing I must say, monopolistic competition seems to be more realistic model, more acceptable model as compared to perfect competition or a monopoly. In monopolistic competition, we assume that there are large number of buyers and large number of sellers, no doubt, but they cannot be as large as in case of perfect competition. Large number of buyers and large number of sellers. One of the unique preposition point or the characteristics of monopolistic competition is product differentiation. That means there are many sellers selling product in the market, but each such product will be differentiated by a different brand name. Each such product would be slightly different than the product of their competitor. Take for example, we have Nerolac paint, Asian paint, Dulux, and so many other paints which are available in the market. Let us talk about the soap market. Lux, Rexona, Moti, Dettol, Savlon, there are Hammam, there are so many soaps that are available in the market. Godrej #1, Synthol, many brands are there. Now each particular soap would be different from the other soap only because of the different look, the different packaging, and the different appeal that it makes to the customer. After all, they are all body care product. Now they are all falling into the simple category of body care product. That means there are many sellers who are available in the market, each of them selling the same product, that is a body care product, but each of them has advertised their product on a different parameter, differentiating their product from the competitor's product by investing into their brand name. So people actually express and exhibit their preferences by way of selecting a particular brand depending upon how well that particular product has been marketed and how well an advertiser or probably a seller is trying to market its product. They all are the same product, more or less close substitute of each other. That means we call it under body care product. Now each of the product will do the same functioning of body cleansing, but then if you go to see, there are many competitors in the market who are selling the same product under the different brand name. So there is a product differentiation, and of course they all will be selling the product more or less at the same price. Price differentiation would be there. If let us say Rexona is available for 12 rupees, possibility is that Lux may be available at 13 rupees. Possibility is that Pierce may be available at 15 rupees. Product differentiation selectively help the competitors to charge different price for their product by making a simple premise that because the products are different, the price will surely going to be different. My dear friends, जब भी हम लोग मार्केट में सोप्स लेने जाते हैं तो हमारे पास बहुत सारे ऑप्शंस हैं. आफ्टर ऑल, व्हाट आर वी बाइंग? वी आर बाइंग अ सोप विच इज़ अ बॉडी केयर प्रोडक्ट. अब सोप चाहे कोई भी हो, सोप तो वही काम करेगा जो सोप को करना है, लेकिन हर कंपनी, हर कॉम्पिटिटर अपने प्रोडक्ट को इतनी अच्छी तरीके से मार्केट करेगा so that it will make an appeal to the audience. All are soaps, all are made from the same raw material more or less. Still there is a product differentiation resulting into price differentiation, and this is in real. This is what happens. Large number of buyers, large number of sellers, product differentiation. There is a free entry and exit. Yes, whoever wants to enter the market, please come in, join the competition, enter the market, and whoever want to exit, cannot face this competition, you may leave the market. So market so much realistic in nature, many sellers, many buyers, each seller is trying its best to gain the market share. हर एक सेलर की हमेशा कोशिश यही रहेगी कि मेरा प्रोडक्ट मार्केट में सबसे ज्यादा बिके. वो हर टाइप का कंपटीशन अपने कॉम्पिटिटर से करने के लिए तैयार है. आई एम रेडी टू फेस एनी टाइप ऑफ कंपटीशन विद माय कॉम्पिटिटर. Does not matter when it comes to a product, does not matter when it comes to a price, but I will make sure that there are two competitions that exist in this market also. One is price competition, second is non-price competition. At price competition, I always keep in mind that my pricing of the product is such so that it is affordable to my customers. At the same time, my non-price competition would be to ensure that I don't lose to my competitor. My customer should not have a preference for my competitor's product. That is how? By designing the product and its price in such a way so that it makes mass appeal for my product. It becomes affordable to the audience, and I enjoy a good healthy market share for my product in the market. So large number of buyers, large number of sellers, product differentiation, price differentiation, free entry, free exit. These are all some of the features of the monopolistic competition. Not only that, they all will have to incur some selling cost also. So what is it? Because if I will not advertise my product, how will I make mass appeal to the people? So each of them, as you know, that in perfect competition, when I am talking about the features, we have taken into consideration only the product cost. That means in perfect competition, we talk about only the production cost. As far as monopoly is concerned, there is no need to incur selling cost because I don't need to advertise my product in monopoly as I don't have any competitor. What about monopolistic competition? So large number of buyers, large number of sellers. So you have to face competition from your competitor. So because the products are different, they are close substitute of each other. They are all body care product. But sir, your product will get differentiated from your competitor's product depending upon the brand and the appeal that you make. Colgate. They say Colgate. Colgate is meant for strong gums. They say Promise. Made up of what? So Promise is meant because it gives you refreshing energy. What about Babool? It is made up of Promise. Sir, it is made up of clove oil. So what about Vicova Jadanti? Sir, it is Ayurvedic product. See, 4 different competitors selling the same oral care product. That means dental care product. Colgate says for the strong gums. Pepsodent says for the refreshing energy. Pepsodent or a close-up. What about Vicova Jadanti? It says that it's an Ayurvedic product, no side effect, pure vegetarian. What about some other products? Dabur, which is available. Again, it is a Vedic product and this and that and whatnot. Then we have Patanjali, which says we are from the original house of Vedas. Total Ayurvedic product, more economical to everyone, no side effects, pure vegetarian. So each of them trying to make their product base having a different appeal for their product in the mind of the people. See, everyone has realized. एक बात मैं आपसे कर दूं. जूने जमाने में in olden days, people used to take coal powder to actually clean their teeth. That time, all multinational companies used to laugh at Indians saying that you are so unprivileged people. You don't have a knowledge. What are you doing? You are taking or using coal for the purpose of cleaning your teeth as an oral care medicine. Recently, Colgate came up with an ad. Colgate with charcoal. What is charcoal? They say charcoal means coal is the hardest substance. It will help. It's a form of a carbon. It will help to cleanse the teeth. And now they are mixing that coal into their toothpaste and advertising their product Colgate charcoal with additional power which will cleanse your teeth and give it white and lustrous brightness. Imagine those olden Vedas, those olden Ayurvedic medicines are now being blended with the modern product and they are doing so. What about Ayush, a product which is advertised by the Hindustan Unilever? Same, they have understood that because of the presence of Patanjali, the whole market has become now a competition on a different level footing front. By advertising their product, by using Ayurveda name anywhere, wherever they want, giving an appeal to the people that their product does not have any side effects, they are not using any artificial agents, because people were fearing. Now to normalize that fear, they came out with the single tag Ayurveda. When they use the word Ayurvedic, people get a belief or a sense that this particular product is free from all the artificial flavoring, so there won't be any side effects. You look at a company called Himalaya, totally focused into Ayurveda. Patanjali, totally focused into Ayurveda. Ayush, totally focused into Ayurveda. Suddenly so many companies focusing on Ayurveda. For what reason? There is a stiff competition, monopolistic competition. Each of them would like to actually appeal to the masses at large by bringing the product differentiation. Same product packed in a different packet, but differentiating because of the appeal that they make to the audience is what is called as a monopolistic competition. My dear friend, monopolistic competition is one of the most important and the realistic market structure that exists in the market with the following with the following features. Large number of buyers and large number of sellers we have already discussed. Product differentiation I have spoken a lot. There is a free entry and exit. Each of them will have to incur huge amount of selling cost to stay afloat, to make their audience understand about their product, the features of the product and the introduction of any new product from themselves. Non-price competition is basically, on one side I'll be fighting with you on the price front, so my price is going to be more or less similar to your pricing, but at the same time I'll also ensure that I don't lose out to you. I will fight with you to ensure that people have a preference for my product than your product. Each of them is going to do so to retain their customers, to ensure that they don't lose out to their customers. When it comes to monopolistic competition, what we need to remember? Sir, it is a concept which was coined by Professor Chamberlain. Professor Chamberlain was the one who said that perfect competition cannot exist where monopoly is a very unrealistic concept. So what practically exists, what is more possible, achievable, gettable, or what is more you can say realistic, would be a blending of both, that is perfect competition and monopoly. So he was the one who basically came out with the concept of monopolistic competition, saying that it has a blending of both perfect competition and monopoly. What happens in monopolistic competition features so large number of buyers and large number of sellers. One of the unique point is product differentiation. There will be many sellers who will be selling their own product. They all will be close substitute of each other. They all are selling oral care. They all are selling body care. But sir, there is a product differentiation. The outlook of the product, the packaging of the product, the appeal of the product would be different. Though they are selling the soaps, though they are selling the toothpaste, though they are selling the paint, but the outlook, the brand loyalty, the appeal, the price, product differentiation will surely be there. That's a very, very important point. Point number 3, there is a free entry and exit in the market. So whoever wants to enter the market, they can do so as long as you find yourself more competitive in the market and you find that your product can make a mass appeal, can really differentiate in the market. So that is a point number 3. Point number 4, each of them will have to incur the selling expenses, which was not there in perfect competition. Your selling expense is a must to keep yourself afloat, to inform your customers about the arrival of new product, to inform your customers about the features of your product, the superiority of your product over your competitor's product. So you will have to incur selling costs in different marketing ways, whichever the company feels suits to the nature of the product. Not only that, my dear friends, we have a non-price competition also. Price competition is fought with respect to setting the price for the product. This non-price competition is basically a fight to gain more customers. A fight which is fought by all the competitors to ensure that they don't lose out their customers to their competitors. For that, constantly understanding the taste and the preferences of the customer and fighting by understanding the product of the competitor as what type of product can be bought in the market, so that they don't lose out their loyal customers in the market. Not only that, my dear friend, the last point is imperfect knowledge on the part of buyers. Buyers may not understand. They get carried away by the kind of appeal that has been made by the seller. So it is assumed that the buyers don't have a perfect knowledge as it was there in the case of perfect competition, where every buyer was aware that same product is available, which is homogeneous product at the same price. Here the product will be available at different price and there will be slight difference in the product too, though they are a close substitute, but each producer selling more or less the same product would advertise their product in a totally different way. If you can see, think about Bonbon biscuit. We have Bonbon biscuit originally manufactured by Britannia. After that, copied by Parle. After that, Priya Gold Bonbon. After that, you have Shalimar Bonbon. After that, you have so many other companies, Sunfish Bonbon. So we have a hell lot of companies who are selling the same product, Bonbon biscuits. Each of them advertising their own product. More or less the price is also the same, but the packaging and the look of the product is different. Talk about Mary Biscuit. Originally Mary Biscuit Britannia is Mary. Then Parle-G came out with Mary. Sunfeast came out with Mary. Priya Gold came out with Mary. Champion came out with Mary. Shandar came out with Mary. And there are so many other companies who came out with the Mary Biscuit. Mary Gold, Mary Chai Time, Mary this, Mary that. What happened ultimately? There are so many sellers selling the same product. What about the price? So price may be little bit here or there, but product differentiation is there, and then people can select their own product as was what exactly is the brand loyalty that they carry for each product. What about the demand curve and the nature of demand curve in monopolistic competition? So the nature of demand curve would be same more or less. It's going to be you can say a downward sloping demand curve will be faced even in case of monopolistic competition. Now downward facing demand curve would be there, but what will be more important to see over here is that if I reduce the price, then the impact is going to be great. In the sense, in monopolistic competition, the demand curve would be elastic in nature. Elastic in the sense, if assume that OP is the price and OQ is the quantity demanded. If I reduce the price, of course my demand will go up. So if I reduce the price, demand will go up, indicating that first, the demand curve is sloping downward. So demand curve is sloping downward. It is highly elastic. That means if I reduce the price from 10, 9, 8, what will happen to demand? At 10, the demand was 100. When you are reducing the price, demand may go to 120. If you further reduce the price, demand may go to 150. That means the change in price is very small, but the change in demand is large. So demand would be more reactive. Demand would be more reactive when the price is changed. If you reduce the price, you will see that the demand will jump faster than that of the price, which means demand is highly elastic. We have already done about different types of elasticity, that is elastic, inelastic, etc. So in short, you can wrap up this by saying that some monopolistic competition is a term which is coined by Professor Chamberlain. At the same time, Mrs. Robinson also gave her input by bringing up imperfect competition. We are going to study it little later. As far as monopolistic competition is concerned, the features are a large number of buyers and large number of sellers. Absolutely right. So product differentiation, superb, free entry and exit. Yes, sir. So they have to incur the selling cost. Absolutely perfect. So not only that, there will be a non-price competition also, non-price collusion also, for a simple reason that they want to retain their market share. And so finally, there is an imperfect knowledge on the part of the buyers. They are not completely aware about everything which is needed to be known about the product. As far as demand curve goes, the demand curve will be sloping downward and it will be highly elastic, indicating the fact that a slight change in the price of the product will help to shoot up the demand. So this is what is all about the monopolistic competition. If you talk about monopoly, then in case of monopoly, there is one single seller in the market. There is no free entry exit in the monopoly business. No selling cost will be incurred. A monopolist would be a price maker and not the price taker. He is going to have a complete command or supreme command or a total command over its product in the market. He can decide the price, he can decide the supply, but he cannot decide the demand. The demand curve in case of monopoly again would be sloping downward, but it will be less elastic. We now move on to the last phase of the chapter that has to do with oligopoly. We have already finished with perfect competition, we finished with monopoly, we finished with monopolistic competition. In fact, it was Mrs. Robinson who coined the concept of imperfect competition. According to her, imperfect competition is a wider concept in the sense that it takes into consideration not just monopolistic competition, but concepts like oligopoly, duopoly, and monopolistic competition. This concept which has been propounded by Mrs. Robinson, was widely accepted because of its wide inclusion of oligopoly and duopoly. What exactly do you mean by the term oligopoly? As we have witnessed, in case of perfect competition, we knew that it is an unrealistic concept, whereas monopoly was dominated by one single seller, though it is not socially desirable. Also, in many countries, it would be restricted, not permitted, and totally controlled. In the light of that, we have a concept called oligopoly. Now, what exactly do you mean by oligopoly? The answer to this would be, sir, oligopoly is a market situation where there are very few sellers in the market. These sellers control the total supply of goods in the market. Any one single seller can actually dominate the market. That means absence of one single seller in the market can actually influence or disrupt the supply logistic in the market. Oligopoly is dominated by very few sellers. Though there are many buyers, but the number of sellers are very few. So the buyers are totally dependent on those sellers. Among sellers, the relationship is quite interdependent in the sense that each seller would constantly review, monitor the activity of its competitor. They look at each other for the inclusion of the new product, what exactly is the product portfolio, what is the pricing strategy that each of them is adopting. They have to incur huge selling expenses in order to retain their market share. Each of them would compete with each other. It will be a cutthroat competition by bringing in various new innovative products, competing with each other, making sure that they offer to their customers in such a way so that their appeal keeps the customers glued and customers are not lost at any condition. One of the most important criteria under oligopoly is the seller will try their level best to maintain their market share of customers. They will compete with each other to any extent to retain the market share. Of course, possibility is they may be selling the same product, there can be a product differentiation, and with respect to the pricing strategy, they are very agile. What simple demonstration can be given in this would be, take for example a market of soft drink which is dominated by, let us say, Pepsi, Coke, Thumbs Up and various other people who are also serving in the market. Now assume that the price of Pepsi, Coke, Thumbs Up are all 10 rupees per bottle. Now since all the customers are getting the bottle for rupees 10, that is, a soft drink is available for rupees 10, so no one is willing to shift their purchases. They are indifferent towards Thumbs Up, Coke, Pepsi, whatever it comes, because the price is same. Few customers would definitely be loyal to their product and they will consume the same product as what they had been consuming for a long period of time. Now what happens in case if the Pepsi will raise the price from rupees 10 to rupees 12, Coke is not going to retaliate that. Thumbs Up is not going to retaliate that. Thumbs Up will keep the price as 10 only. Coke will keep the price as 10 only. In case if Pepsi will increase the price from 10 to 12, what will happen? People will shift their consumption from Pepsi to Coke or Thumbs Up. As a result, Pepsi will lose the market share. As I have already spoken to you, in this situation of a market, there is a cutthroat competition. No one would like to take the lead with respect to changing the price of the product. No one would like to take the leadership with respect to changing the price. Because if you increase the price, people will dump you. People will look out for a Coke. People will look out for Thumbs Up because they are the close substitutes. And what will happen to Pepsi? Pepsi will lose the market share. Supposing, let us say Pepsi decided, no, I don't want to increase the price. Rather, if I decrease the price, Indian customers are very conscious with respect to the price. Why Indian customer? World over, customers are very conscious about the price. So in case if I reduce the price from 10 to rupees 8, chances are that I can increase my market share. Now when Pepsi decides to reduce the price from rupees 8, rupees 10 to rupees 8, what will happen? Coke and Thumbs Up will immediately retaliate. The moment Pepsi makes its announcement that they are reducing the price from rupees 10 to rupees 8, Coke will also follow and retaliate in the same manner. So what will happen? By reducing the price, Pepsi will not be able to gain or shift the customers from Coke and Thumbs Up in its own brand name. So Pepsi is not going to make any big difference by reducing the price. That means increasing the price of the product would be hazardous, as your competitor will kill you. People will shift to your competitor's product because they are a close substitute. Reducing the price is not going to get you any customers. At the same time, you will be decimated and you will reduce your profit share or profit margin. So both the ways, whether you increase the price or reduce the price, you are not going to gain anything, my dear friend. That is why oligopoly is a very smart business model dominated by a handful of sellers, each of them having control over the market, and they would like to maintain or retain their market share. There is a high degree of interdependence with respect to the product portfolio as well as the pricing model. My dear friends, remember, we have a different types of oligopoly altogether. And different types of oligopoly will have a different types of rules too. Like for example, you have a pure oligopoly. What do you mean by pure oligopoly? In pure oligopoly, all the producers, all the sellers would be selling the homogeneous product, same type of product, absolutely same, and they would be competing with each other. You can take for example, petrol stations in India. We have BPCL, IPCL, HPCL, all the petrol pumps selling same quality of petrol and more or less at the same price. So my dear friends, very limited number of sellers selling homogeneous product more or less at the same price. Remember, this is not a perfect competition for a simple reason that we have only handful of sellers. Very few sellers. So my dear friend, that is a pure oligopoly. So understood pure oligopoly. Then what is a differentiated oligopoly? Differentiated oligopoly is a state of market where there are very few sellers, but each of them is selling more or less different product but a close substitute. That means the product differentiation is there, but each of them is a close substitute for each other. Like for example, you talk about Airtel, Jio, Vodafone. That means if you see, telecommunication market is dominated by 3 to 4 players only. So there are very few sellers. Now Reliance is offering you a different bouquet. Airtel is giving you a different bouquet. More or less they are same. Probably Bharti Airtel may say we will give you Netflix free. Jio will say we have our own platform of Jio Alt, Jio Balaji, Jio Savan, whatever. So basically what they are going to offer you, what type of appeal they are making to you is very simple. They have slight product differentiation, but they will have a price differentiation also, marginally. Every time when Jio will reduce the price, it will bother Bharti and Bharti will be forced to reduce the price. No one will take the lead in raising the price, because once you raise the price, your competitor will kill you by taking away your customers. That is what is exactly an oligopoly is. So my dear friends, we have a pure oligopoly where all of them will be selling a homogeneous product. We have differentiated oligopoly where differentiated oligopoly is defined where the sellers would be selling a different product but each of them would be a close substitute. Besides that, my dear friend, we have a collusive monopoly and non-collusive monopoly. Now what do you mean by collusive monopoly? See, under collusive monopoly, all the sellers will reach out to an agreement. They will make an agreement to the effect that they will sell the product at the same price. If you see in India, petrols available in the same state will be at the same price. In the state of Maharashtra, you visit any petrol pump, the price of the petrol is going to be the same. Why? Because it has been regulated. Even though in case if it would have not been regulated and the situation would have been the same, the price of the petrol across the state of Maharashtra is going to be the same. That means there has been an agreement which has been reached out among all the sellers saying that we are going to sell the product at the same price. This is what is called as collusive monopoly. In case if sellers are behaving independently with respect to the product which are close substitutes, and they decide to charge the price independently as per their cost or as per their decision, that means there is a price differentiation. There is a possibility that there is a product differentiation also. Then in that case, we call it is a case of non-collusive monopoly. So my dear friends, what are the features of oligopoly? So first thing is, the concept has been coined by Mrs. Robinson. It is a very popular and widely accepted concept of imperfect competition. So in this kind of market structure, there are very few sellers in the market. Each seller is in a position to dominate the market. They are the one who will control the total supply of goods and services in the market. So there is a high degree of interdependence among each other with respect to reviewing their product as well as keeping an eye on the pricing policy. If one will increase the price, possibility is that the other may not retaliate, for a simple reason that the other guy will in fact increase his market share in the market by not raising the price. I gave you an example of Coke and a Pepsi. Agar Pepsi will raise the price from rupees 10 to rupees 12, Coke and Thumbs Up will not retaliate. They will not increase the price. What will happen? The customers of the Pepsi will shift to Coke, will shift to Thumbs Up. So Pepsi is not going to gain anything out of it, because people know Coke, Pepsi and a Thumbs Up, they all are a very close substitute to each other. There are very few percentage of the people who may be brand loyal. So they might remain loyal to their brand. So they might be an indifferent for them whether the price of the Pepsi is 10 or 12. They will yet consume Pepsi. But then that segment is very less percentage of the people. Majority of them are influenced by the price. So they may shift from Pepsi to Coke or a Thumbs Up. So there is a high amount of interdependence among the sellers. The sellers will take note of the moves taken by their competitors. If Pepsi will reduce the price, immediately Coke and Thumbs Up will also reduce the price. So resulting into what? Resulting into Pepsi is not going to gain any market share because Coke and Thumbs Up are going to retaliate immediately, retaining their market share. With respect to entry and exit, of course, in oligopoly, entry of the new firm is allowed, but it is very difficult because the sellers are dominating the market and making way for a new producer or a seller in the market is going to be extremely challenging. With respect to the different types of oligopoly, we have pure oligopoly where all the sellers would be selling the same product, homogeneous product. With respect to differentiated oligopoly, all the sellers would be selling a different product, but each of them is going to be a close substitute. As I gave you an example of Pepsi, Coke, Thumbs Up, etc. They are all differentiated oligopoly selling close substitute of each other. Collusive oligopoly is basically a situation where each seller or all the sellers together will reach out an agreement to sell their product at the same price, as in case of IPCL, BPCL, HPCL, Reliance, SR. All the petrol across the state of Maharashtra is going to sell the oil and the gas at the same price. With respect to non-collusive oligopoly, that means non-collusive oligopoly, the price of the product would vary. Product itself would have a differentiation with respect to its features, look, outlook, color, shape, etc. As you see, the market dominated by the two-wheelers. We have Activa, we have Jupiter, we have bike which is produced by Mahindra's, Hero Honda, and so many other players, Bajaj, so many other players are there in the market, each of them selling two-wheelers. Each two-wheeler have a different feature. They are all a close substitute of each other. There is a product differentiation, there is a price differentiation, but there are very few sellers in the market. So that is what is exactly about oligopoly, and we discussed about the different types of oligopoly as well. There is one more concept which is very simple and similar to oligopoly. Now, in case if the market is dominated by only two players, that means there are only two sellers in the market, just two sellers in the market, then in that case, such a market scenario is said to be duopoly. Duopoly, monopoly is a single seller, duopoly is a two sellers. There are only two sellers in the market. For example, if you see world over, there are two servers, Yahoo and Google. They are dominated by most of the servers. Alright, so something similar to that. Now, of course, yes, oligopoly would be more practical approach as compared to duopoly or a monopoly. Oligopoly would exist in most of the markets where there are very limited number of sellers because of the regulations, because many people probably may not have a license to produce those things and so on and so forth. My dear friends, with this, your entire oligopoly too comes to an end. As far as the entire chapter is concerned, let's have a distinguished feature between perfect competition, monopoly and monopolistic competition. Understand what is the difference. So my dear friends, first difference would be in perfect competition, there are large number of buyers and large number of sellers. What about monopoly? So in monopoly we have one single seller. What about monopolistic competition? So in monopolistic competition, we have large number of buyers and sellers, but not as large as in case of perfect competition. Absolutely right. In case of perfect competition, price remains the same. Uniform price prevailing in the market. In case of monopoly, price may or may not remain same. A monopolist can discriminate between the customers and charge different price to different customer. With respect to monopolistic competition, as there is a product differentiation, so price of the product, like for example Colgate, Pepsodent, Close-Up, Promise, Bubble, they may vary. They are close substitute, but the price may vary. Say in case of perfect competition, the demand curve is perfectly elastic. That means in the sense it will be parallel to x-axis, something like this. Whereas in case of perfect competition, so in case of monopoly, the demand curve is going to be less elastic, which indicates a monopolist can sell more by reducing the price. Whereas in case of monopolistic competition, it is going to be more elastic, because if you reduce the price, the response of the demand is going to be quite fast, very sensitive to the price. In case of perfect competition, it is assumed that there is a perfect knowledge on the part of buyers and the sellers. In case of monopoly, it is completely dominated by the sellers. Whereas in case of perfect competition, there is no perfect knowledge on the part of the buyer, because buyer is not in a position to understand the product differentiation being offered and appealed by various sellers. In case of perfect competition, if you see there is a free entry and a free exit, that means anyone can enter the market or probably can exit the market whenever you want. Monopoly, on the other hand, is extremely restricted. That means there is no free entry. Only the one who is a license holder or the one who is regulated or who is the one getting regulated will command entire control over the market. Whereas in case of monopolistic competition, here also there is a free entry and exit in the market, absolutely. So if you go to see neck to neck, There are some similarities between perfect competition and a monopoly. There are some similarities between perfect competition and monopolistic competition. There are some similarities between monopoly and monopolistic competition as well. But the end of the day, monopolistic competition is a blend of perfect competition and monopoly. Most of the market structure differentiated with each other on most important points like product differentiation, price differentiation, pattern of demand curve, free entry and exit, number of buyers and sellers. They are the prominent point. As far as perfect competition is concerned, it is absolutely unrealistic concept in the market structure. Monopoly though can exist, but it can exist only in case if the government or the regulator is willing to allow it. Otherwise, monopoly or having a single seller dominating the market is genuinely not possible unless it is a government or a government body who is exercising its own control. Finally, monopolistic competition is a very practical and a realistic approach which is genuinely accepted and widely allowed all over the country. So my dear friends, with this, our entire market structure model with respect to perfect competition and its features, monopoly, its features, monopolistic competition, its features, demand curve, demand pattern, types of monopoly, types of oligopoly, features of oligopoly, differentiation between all of them has been totally covered. I am sure you guys will enjoy the chapter and have a good knowledge with respect to this chapter and the market structure of the economy. Thank you so much for watching the video. Do subscribe to our channel to get access to many such videos which will help you enhance your knowledge. Until then, goodbye. Myself Kishore Jain.